It all started when the pharaohs were sick of using their foot to move the goods or even their king or people. Most of the travels they used transport. The Egyptians built canals and irrigation system. They didn't make so many roads, but they do have the concept of logistics. The concept itself, after a time, they improve and develop it. They also helped in opening the way for trade between the pharaohs and Africa. The Hyksos, who previously ruled Egypt, introduced the horse and the chariot. Then donkey and ox were used to bring gold, ebony, ivory, rare stone. However, donkey was the typical back animal, but the ox was the typical draft animal, which is a huge difference. They had their own traffic system for ships. Then they used vehicles such as sledges, carts, and wagons for heavier loads. Steve Vinson of Indiana University wrote, Egypt's most important, most visible, and best documents means of transportation was its watercraft. However, back animals, porters, wheel vehicles, sledges, and even carrying chairs were also used to move goods and people across both short and long distance, and each played an important role. They also had the concept of organization and maintenance of integrated transportation facilities and network that involved both land and water transport. Also an advanced way of transportation for the loads that were too heavy for the donkey and oxen, sledges. They used sledges for even larger weight, avoiding the risk of broken axles. The sustainability of the chariot for long distance travel was limited, since its fragile spoked wheel needed, even however it was needed, the impact soil it was not capable of being used across the country on uneven sandy or rocky ground. The chariot was the most fastest and also expensive because it was always maintained, and they also hack stuff for maintenance and care these things. Roads in ancient Egypt. Many of the roads in the desert maintained are tracks. Some tracks are surprisingly hard and smooth. Generally, they are bumpy and in poor condition. After it rains, they often become impassable off the beaten tracks. People on the move have to deal with deep sand, deep ruts, big rocks, dust, world-old paved road. In the Old Kingdom of ancient Egypt, a time of grand architecture beginning about 4,600 years ago. Demand for building stones for pyramids and temples led to the beginning of many quarries in the low cliffs near the Nile. To make it easier to transport the heavy stones from one of these quarries, the Egyptians laid what may have been the world's first paved road. Overland roads branched off from the Nile Valley to take Egyptian work crew to the quarry in the eastern desert, from which building stones gold were obtained. For Egyptian, elite consumption and for export. The same routes in the Red Sea and Indian Oceans, transporting goods in ancient Egypt. Among the most important and most difficult items to transport in Egypt were large cargoes of stones and wood for building projects, and large cargoes of grain were collected the temples. The transportation of both classes of cargo called for an integrated transport system that combined both land and river, including the construction and maintenance of specialized infrastructure and vehicles. But now we have a stronger network, consists of road, railway, and also inland. And now, here we are to present you what are the new facilities of trucking.